I finally did it. I broke into some games that I've been avoiding playing for the SNES Quest. Not because they're bad games, just because they're games that take a long time to learn and read the manual, learn how to play them, and a long time to play them to be able to do a good review of them. Specifically, I'm talking about RPGs. Because I try to get these episodes out quickly, but I know that with an RPG, there's a whole story involved. You gotta get pretty far in the game to really experience the gameplay and what it's all about. But I know that if I don't start knocking these games out now, I'm gonna have all these games left at the end of the SNES Quest, and it's gonna be a nightmare. So with everything else going on in life, which is a lot, I decided to take a break, sit down, and start playing some of these games. 4 out of the 5 games we're covering today, I played for well over an hour each. And a typical game I usually try to keep to at least 30 minutes, unless it's a really bad game like race driving. In addition to the games we're covering today, I also got a really nice box lot that we'll be adding to the collection as well. And in fact, it was such a nice box lot, I actually ran out of clear plastic box protectors. All of my games are kept in these plastic cases here to help keep the boxes in nice condition. And I actually ran out, so I have 4 or 5 games on the shelf right now that aren't in protectors. And that drives me nuts. So I need to sell some stuff so I can get some more protectors, and I'll probably order enough to finish the quest. That's just another thing on the to-do list. But things right now are just getting crazier and crazier. I just hit over 19 years in the Air Force, so I have less than a year until I get out. I don't even know how the SNES Quest is gonna work during that transition, because I'm gonna have to move out of this house and move to wherever I'm gonna move, and I have no idea what I even want to do when I get out of the Air Force. So I have all that. I'm still dealing with the IRS and still dealing with a bunch of nonsense at work that I can't talk about right now. But all the videos I released in April were pre-recorded in March, because I went on vacation in April and I had all the videos just scheduled out on YouTube as I was on vacation. But as I'm moving from this house to wherever I'm gonna go, I have no idea how long it's gonna be before I'm able to make the next episode. So I have no clue how many videos I'll need to record in advance for that transition period. But hopefully when we get to that point, I have minimal delays in videos. But anyways, today we have 5 more games that we'll be adding to the collection, and a bunch of boxes and manuals. And I also sold some duplicates, so we'll take those off the price counter. Let's check them out. And the first game up is Aerobiz. Aerobiz was developed and published by Koei and flew into stores in 1993. Aerobiz is an airline business simulation game where you take on the role of a CEO. Your goal is to open routes across the world, connecting cities and outperforming other airlines. The game has a lot going on that you need to keep track of. You can open branches or hotels in cities, negotiate for slots in new cities, order new aircraft for your airline, which is a strategy in itself, change routes and flights based on how they are performing, and the list goes on. This isn't usually my cup of tea, but I was oddly addicted to the gameplay. It was fun experimenting with different things and seeing how it affected the business. Some actions you perform require wait periods. Wait periods are usually 3 to 6 months, whether you're negotiating or ordering aircraft. You play against 3 other airlines. The airlines you play against can be the computer or your friends. After you end your turn, 3 months goes by. So you may have to wait a turn or 2 to complete an action. The game is pretty slow moving. It also doesn't help it's coupled with elevator music, making it drag on at times. The visuals are mediocre and the controls are fine. Aerobiz isn't going to win any awards, but it's not a bad way to waste some time. Aerobiz is game number 196 for the collection, and I got it for $50 at a local game store. And at $50, that brings our total up to $32,826 for the SNES Quest. And the next game up is Aerobiz Supersonic. Aerobiz Supersonic was developed and published by Koei and landed onto store shelves in 1994. Just like its predecessor Aerobiz, Aerobiz Supersonic is an airline business simulation game. It's the same concept as the first game, where you operate the airline as a CEO and open up routes, buy aircraft, manage business costs, and negotiate for new slots. But the game also added more features. Now you can bid for business ventures like opening different hotels, golf courses, amusement parks, or cruises. The graphics didn't improve much, and it still has long animations that you can't skip over. The controls are fine, and the music is still the elevator type music that puts you to sleep. They also added more date ranges and difficulty levels in the game. You still play against 3 other players in the game, whether they are the computer or your friends. And your goal is to outperform all the other airlines you play against. I found both Aerobiz and Aerobiz Supersonic to be unique games that can be fun if you're into that style of gameplay. If you're interested in playing an Aerobiz game, Aerobiz Supersonic is the better choice with more options. Aerobiz Supersonic is game number 197 for the collection, and I found the cart at a local game store for $40. Then I found the box for $74 shipped, and the manual for $25 shipped. And that brings our total up to $139. And at $139, that brings our total up to $32,965 for the SNES Quest. And the next game up is Samurai Shodown. Samurai Shodown was developed by SNK and published by Takara. It slashed into stores in 1994. Samurai Shodown is a unique fighting game for the system. You have a wide variety of characters to choose from, and they each have their own weapons. You can do a combination of light, medium, or hard punches or kicks, or a super powerful attack by combining them all together. Each character also has a number of special attacks you can do, and pulling them off is easier than other fighting games we've covered. I own this game on the Neo Geo, and it was a superior version, but the SNES version is still a good game. Another way the game stands out is the rage meter. As you take damage from the enemy, your rage meter fills up. Once it's full, your attacks become more powerful. Finally, it has a countdown mode. In this mode, you don't have a health bar. You just fight enemy after enemy and try to rack up as many points as you can within the given time limit. The controls are good, but there were times they felt somewhat sticky. I did notice some slight slowdown, but it's hardly worth mentioning. The graphics and sound are great, and the gameplay is fun. If you're looking for a different fighting game on the SNES, give Samurai Shodown a shot. Samurai Shodown is game number 198 for the collection, and I have $70 in trade for it. And at $70, that brings our total up to $33,035 for the Super NES Quest. Up next we have Breath of Fire. Breath of Fire was developed by Capcom and published by Squaresoft. It released for the Super NES in 1994. Breath of Fire is a typical RPG for the system. You start the game waking up to your house on fire. The dark dragons are attacking, and they're after the light dragons. A goddess named Tyr watches the battle between the dragons escalate, and just as the world is on the brink of destruction, a warrior steps up and they lock her away with 6 keys. The 6 keys are spread across the land. So I guess our job is to find the keys before the dark dragons do. The first thing I notice about Breath of Fire is there's really no tutorial. Other games we've covered like Lufia and the Fortress of Doom and Paladin's Quest did a really good job about teaching you how to play the game. Breath of Fire just kind of throws you in there, so it's not really an RPG for beginners. If you are familiar with RPGs, it's your standard battle system and setup. The towns have save points and shops to buy things, you level up with battles, you can attack, defend, use magic, heal, it's all here. One thing I like about the battle system is they have an A-B option. AB stands for auto battle, and your character fights automatically. Some other cool features in the game is it has fountains that can heal you in some dungeons, which really comes in handy, and they have night and daytime, which is really cool. Some towns you can only enter at night and you have to sneak around or you'll get thrown out. The game isn't perfect. You walk around really slow and there's no option to speed up. On top of that, you run into an insane amount of enemies constantly. Others say these flaws were fixed in the Game Boy Advance version. Other than the few factors I mentioned, Breath of Fire is a lot of fun. The visuals are well done, the soundtrack is really excellent, the controls work as they should, and the game isn't outrageously priced like some other RPGs. If you're a fan of RPGs, Breath of Fire is worth playing. Breath of Fire is game number 199 for the collection, and I found it at a game exchange for $140. But because it was missing the registration card, they knocked $10 off. making it $130. And at $130, that brings our total up to $33,165 for the SNES Quest. And the last game up is Breath of Fire 2. Breath of Fire 2 was developed and published by Capcom, releasing for the Super Nintendo in 1995. This is the sequel to Breath of Fire, which takes place 500 years after the first game. You start off the game as young Ryu, who wanders off to find his sister. You're led to the remains of a dragon that protected your village when demons attacked it years prior and claimed the life of your mother. When you return to the village, no one knows you, and you're taken into the church as an orphan. That's when you meet Bo, which is a thief, and you run away together. After 10 years pass, you and Bo are working as rangers for extra cash, and that's where the game really starts. Some things in this game improved over the first, while some actually got worse, and some things stayed the same. The battle system is still good and easy to navigate, and the animations look great. The music is decent, but I like the music in the first game better. Breath of Fire 2 also has some parts of the game that have no music at all, which is really odd. Running into enemies is even more frequent in this game, which is really annoying, and the difficulty is much harder. Just grinding at the beginning to level up your character can eat through your items. Breath of Fire didn't feel like an RPG for beginners, and the second game would be even worse to start with. Despite the flaws and difficulty, Breath of Fire 2 is still a great game for the SNES. I plan on coming back to play through both games fully when I get the chance. Breath of Fire 2 is game number 200 for the collection, and I found it at the same game exchange as Breath of Fire for $255. But they knocked $35 off the price, making it $220. And at $220, that brings our total up to $33,385 for the Super Nintendo Complete in Box Quest. Up next, we got a huge lot of 12 boxes and some manuals. So we'll check those out now. And those boxes are Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, Toy Story, Wario's Woods, The Ignition Factor, Doom, Pack in Time box and manual, NCAA Final Four box and manual, Pit Fighter, Ultimate Mortal Kombat, which I already had the manual and cart for, Revolution X box and manual, Speedy Gonzales box, manual and inserts, and the main reason I bought the lot, which is the box for Mega Man X3. This lot of 12 boxes and manuals cost me $529 shipped, and that brings our total up to $33,914. But I've already sold some duplicates out of it for $35, and that brings our total down to $33,879. Let's get these games on the shelf. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe. I'm completing the entire Super Nintendo library, complete in box, right here on the show. Also, make sure to leave a thumbs up for Breath of Fire 1 and 2. Until next time, I'm Gamer Wayne, and thanks for watching.